tuning into NancyB's adventure diary for this live session. I really do hope you can hear me well. Please just type on the chat if you can hear me. I'll be very glad to be with you in this session. Today I'll be talking of how I lost weight, and maybe just to make sure, since we'll be here for a while, I want to be really sure that we are all okay. Please tell us if you can hear me. I hope you can hear me clearly from wherever you're tuned in. I have a few notes here to just guide me so that I don't forget anything. I really hope you can hear me well. And just to take you back, at the age of 51, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and began my lifetime journey of weight loss. I knew it was either I do it or I face diabetes for the rest of my life. I did lose 19.5 kilograms, that's about 45 pounds. And I've kept it off now for 4 years. So it's been a while. And in this video, I'll be revealing how I lost the weight. And just to be sure we are on the same script, please, I want to give this disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor or any healthcare professional, but I am just a person who had diabetes, lost weight, beat diabetes, and I want to share my story. So I will be sharing my story in what I now call NancyB's 5-point scale diet for weight loss. This is a tool I developed, and I developed it after reading so many tens of papers, after also watching hundreds of videos from prominent doctors, reviewing publications, looking at other Google search engines over a period of more than a year. It wasn't easy, but I really needed to invest in the research. So I invested like a year of research as I lost the weight. I didn't know everything, and I actually just learned as I went along. Then I took about 2 months to put together this model, which I call NancyB's 5-point scale diet for weight loss. It helped me lose weight, and I really hope it's going to help somebody lose weight. So I have had a lot of thought on this, and I think today is a good time for me to discuss this. So I'm now 55 years, and I'm still diabetes free. I keep checking my diabetes. I'm also maintaining my weight loss. And if you're here for the first time, thank you for tuning in. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you a lot. Thank you for always coming back to watch my videos. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, that this video may be able to reach many more people. So I'll first take you a bit back. When I was born, I was a normal child. I was born at 3.1 kilograms. That's about 7 pounds, which is considered normal for the part of the world where I was born. And as a child, I was thin. And then as a teenager, as I grew taller, I became lanky. And actually, even up to the time I entered my 20s, I was thin, tall, and lanky. I was more of a number 11 and not a figure 8 or a Coke bottle. So I was that thin child, and I remained thin even when I joined university at the age of 19. I remained thin throughout. I did not gain the freshman weight. And actually, at the age of 25, I weighed only 52 kilograms, which is about 115 pounds. So I got my first child at the age of 26. And I ended my first pregnancy at about 67 kilograms. And I quickly lost this weight because even as I left the hospital, I was weighing 62 kilograms. And I think for the next few years, I didn't pay too much attention to my weight. My second pregnancy reached 77 kilograms a term. This is about 170 pounds. And again, I quickly lost 10 kilograms. And life went back to normal. At about the age of 30, I moved to Europe to study for about a year. And this is when my struggles with weight began. And I remember when I was going, it was already winter and it was cold. I was not used to this kind of temperatures coming from the tropics. Also, being away from home, I was lonely, and I really did a lot of comfort eating. And in Europe, I discovered there's something called cheap junk or cheap candy. So I really ate those sweets, chocolates, and all the other goodies that were there. My weight really crept up. And apart from the cheap junk, I think partly I was comfort eating because of the loneliness and being away from home. But at the end of the day, I only blame myself. I don't want to blame anybody. I don't want to blame Europe or blame the food, because I was willingly putting it in my mouth. So a year later, I returned home and I weighed in at a clean 83 kilograms, which is about 183 pounds. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I just thought, no, this has to go. So the very next day, not tomorrow or 1st of January or next week, the very next day, I began doing something about it. I hit the gym. I started running. I stopped eating junk. I stopped eating candy. And I quickly lost most of that weight I'd gained and came down to 68 kilograms. It wasn't so quick. This took about 6 months, and I was quite happy to be there. So I remained at about this weight for a long time. And for about 10 years, I really did not bother about my weight. And slowly by slowly, I began to regain the weight. About 10 years ago, I had actually reached the 83 kilogram mark once again. And unfortunately, this time I didn't do anything about it. And it was about the same time I changed jobs and I moved to a largely sedentary job, which had a lot of meetings. And when I say meetings, the implications. In my part of the world, sometimes office meetings have a lot of tea, they have a lot of snacks. So in between meals, you are eating something at 10 or 11, you're eating something at 3 p.m. And a lot of those snacks were things like cakes, biscuits, mandazi. Mandazi is a kind of snack that's popular in East Africa, and it's made from wheat and deep fried. So I really ate them. And it was also during this time as I began to climb the management ladder. I attended a lot of meetings outside the office. I also went to conferences and workshops that lasted 3 days, some lasted a week. And for sure, in these conferences and workshops, we were really eating. I would really enjoy the 3-course breakfast, 3-course lunch, and even a 3-course dinner. And slowly but surely, the weight piled on. About 2019, my weight had reached 92 kilograms. And then 2020 happened. Lockdown did not make things any easier, because this is the time the whole world was shut down. We were all confined in our homes. And even for me as family, for the first time in about 20 years, we were actually just sitting at home, eating, comfort eating. And it was also in this time I indulged a lot in sugary snacks. One of my favorite pastimes during these lockdown times was to bake and eat cakes. So I really ate them. And it was also in this season that I had actually gained, I'd started growing fruits. So most of them had reached maturity. And I was really enjoying them. So I also started making homemade juice, squeezing oranges, mangoes, mainly. I also had bananas. So all this was adding to my sugar. And by January of 2021, my weight had reached 96.5 kilograms, which is about 213 pounds. And it was at this time that I began getting some health warning signs. I remember in January of 2021, one night I was looking at the computer and then I realized something was wrong because everything was just dull and my vision was cloudy. I couldn't see the screen. And it was also in this time I was experiencing frequent urination, going to the toilet every other time. I also got these ever increasingly severe headaches and I started snoring. Or I noticed I was snoring so loudly. Because in this time, if I'd be snoring or sleeping upstairs, somebody downstairs could hear me snoring. And I delayed this because this was right at the beginning of the year. But about the third week of January, I got the courage to go to a doctor. When I was weighed and my BMI was computed, I had a BMI of 34.5. And this for my height is considered class 1 obesity. My random sugar was 12.3. Random sugar should be in the normal range of maybe 5 to 7, not 12.3. And then the real measure of how much sugar is in your blood, HbA1c, was 8.9. HbA1c is a diabetes test, and the normal range is below 6 is considered normal. 6 to 6.5 is considered pre-diabetes, and above 6.5 is considered diabetes. So at 8.9, I had clearly full diabetes. There was no shying away from that. This was a very difficult moment for me. I had a conversation with the doctor who was seeing me. He refused to give me medicine, and he insisted go home and lose weight through diet and exercise. And he advised me to regularly monitor my blood sugar like twice a day. And from his office, I actually went to buy a glucometer, which is a machine that measures blood sugar. He asked me to return after 2 weeks and later after a month. And this hospital visit would mark the turning point in my weight journey. And this would motivate me or mark the beginning of my weight loss journey in a bid to beat diabetes and regain good health. What I can say is that weight loss is achievable with lifestyle, not just medicine. I am a living example. I personally lost 19.5 kilograms, which is about 45 pounds. And most importantly, my big stomach actually shrunk. I lost 10 inches from my stomach or from my tummy. And my sugar levels or my diabetes reversed because 9 months later, my HbA1c, which is the gold standard for diabetes, had dropped from 8.9 to 5.4, which is actually considered in the ideal category. So weight loss is not a sprint, it is a marathon. It is long term. It took me 1.5 years to get there. And my goal right now is health improvement. I really don't have ambition to be a stick thin person or like a model. You know, the ones you see on those covers are nowadays on Instagram and other social media. I just want to be healthy. So as we go along, please type your questions in the chat. I'll be answering them in a session that's coming soon. You can also send them to me on Instagram. I'll be glad to answer those questions. So there are 5 core strategies to weight loss, which I applied in my weight loss journey. The first one is to stop eating industrial foods. What do I mean by industrial foods? These are anything that comes in a box, in a tin, or is processed, has a long shelf life, or doesn't look like what food looked like 100 years ago. For example, we have those breakfast cereals which have pink, blue, maybe green, all sorts of colors. If you show that to somebody who lived 70, 100 years ago, they'll not be able to recognize that as food. But if you show them maize or beans, they'll tell you, yes, we ate this, or this is rice, we've been eating it for centuries. My second strategy was to reduce carbohydrates, as excess carbohydrates actually turn into fat and are stored on your body as fat. This wasn't easy. Another one was to just stop bad habits. And the main bad habit I had to stop was snacking. So this actually translates to saying no to crisps, no to biscuits, no to chips, no to chocolates, no to juices. So stopping snacking was the third strategy or pillar. The fourth one is that if you must snack, or if I must snack, then I'll snack on something that is low sugar. For example, something like a boiled egg has 0 sugar. It will not have any effect on your blood sugar and possibly on your weight. Of course, another one was to reduce the amount of cooking oil and to also reduce the margarine and the other spreads on bread. This one I did drastically. And at the end of it all, I came up with what I call NancyB's 5-point scale diet for weight loss. So basically, this is a product or a model that has come from a lot of research. Like I said, over the 1.5 years I was losing weight, I was actually researching and developing this model. And then it took me about 2 months to put it together. And today I bring it to you that you may also be able to use it to help you actually lose weight. And what I can say is that this diet is at different levels. It has 5 levels. So I'll quickly run through the 5 levels. We have level 1, and at level 1 is what I call the common sense diet. So if you remember, there was the thumbnail that announced this live. There was a pyramid there. It had different levels. And if you're not able to see that, you can also go to my channel. There are videos there with these levels, with these pyramids with levels. I'll also pin them in the description so that in case you can't find them easily, you will be able to see them. And I'll put it again on the thumbnail of this live when it's over. So at the bottom, which is the biggest level, is level 1, which is what I call the common sense diet. At level 1, it means that you don't eat any junk or industrial food. So it means gone are the crisps, gone are the chips, gone are the biscuits, gone are the sweets, and endless chocolates. So I will have an equal share of carbohydrates, proteins, and vegetables. So if you are to divide your plate into 3, it will be divided into 3 equal shares of carbohydrates, proteins, and vegetables. At level 2, this is what I have called the healthy plate. And the healthy plate is where half of your plate is vegetables, 1/4 is protein, and 1/4 is carbohydrates. And these carbohydrates are, say, the size of your fist, because I don't know how big your plate is. So in case you have a very big plate, consider 1/4 to be the size of your fist. And the size of your fist, of course, changes with your body size. If you have a bigger body, you will need a bigger amount of food. As you lose weight, the fist will become smaller. So in this video, when I talk about 1/4 or 1/4 the plate of 1/4 carbohydrates, I'm talking about this amount. And in terms of foods, carbohydrates, I'm referring to things like rice, roti or chapati. I'm also referring to pasta. I'm referring to potatoes and any others, arrowroots, cassava, or any other popular starches or carbohydrates in your area. For proteins, for the purpose of this video, proteins, I have two categories of proteins. I have the animal proteins, which are basically fish. We have fish. We also have chicken. I also have beef, chicken, fish are the main ones, and any other. You can also have some sardines, or you can also have sardines are small fish, also called omena in East Africa. And then for the vegetarian proteins, we have a number. We have many good quality proteins. We have tofu, we have tempeh, we have soya meat or soy chunks, depending on what you have. In my part of the world, tofu and tempeh are quite expensive, but the soya meat is reasonably priced and is competitive to the animal proteins. So back to the model. At level 3, we have the low carbohydrate, high protein diet. And in this level 3, we have 1 feast of carbohydrates per day. So remember, in level 2, you could have a feast per meal, but now in level 3, you have 1 feast of carbohydrates per day. And it's up to you to decide. You can either divide this feast of carbohydrates into 3 shares so that you have 1 at each of your 3 meals, or you can have it in 2 meals or 3 meals. Personally, I prefer to have it for breakfast and lunch, and then supper, I can forgo the carbohydrates. So level 4 of NancyB's 5-point scale diet for weight loss is where I also have only protein and vegetables. This is not a new diet. This diet has been widely researched, and one of the early proponents of this diet is Atkins, who used it to treat thousands upon thousands of patients who had obesity. It's also been used to treat other diseases, mental illnesses, and even some other complications. So keto, or this very low carbohydrate diet, you only eat proteins and vegetables. And it will depend on whether you're eating animal or plant proteins. And then at level 5, which is the highest of them, and this is the green zone, this is where you have the carnivore, and in this case, you only eat meat, which could be beef, chicken, or fish. Or you can also eat the sardines or omena if you are from the lakes or from around lakes that produce these sardines or omena. And what I can say is that it's unfortunate. I don't think I have an alternative for level 5 for vegetarians. I believe maybe the best you can go is to go up to level 4 on the vegetarian diet, but I still think it's really a lot coming from where most of us are from. So if you go back to that pyramid that you will see on the thumbnail or in the other videos, so level 1 is brownish, level 2 is orangish, level 3 is yellowish, like my jacket here, level 4 is light green, and level 5 is green. So personally, I think the sweet spot is to try and eat at level 3, which is the yellowish, and this way you'll be able to sustain this for a long time. So one of the things I can say is that as you go up the scale from level 1 to 5, the weight loss accelerates. But this diet becomes harder to adhere to, because remember, it's becoming more restrictive. And you'll find that level 4 and 5 are very good for short-term interventions, but not long-term, because they are a bit difficult to adhere to. Long-term sustainability is usually achieved between level 2 and 3. So for me, I find it's comfortable to stay around the yellow line. And then this way, it's not too difficult. When I need to, I move a little up. When I need to, I move a little down. But staying in the yellow has proved to be very useful for me. So what are my results on this diet? So let me take you back. When I began, remember I was very badly off. So I did not begin up there. I began at the very bottom. And remember, these were months of research. So I really researched the diet before I started doing it. So at level 1, I did the common sense diet. And this I did for about a month, where my plate was a third carbohydrates, a third protein, and a third vegetables. Remember, this is coming from somebody who has been eating all sorts of industrial foods and all sorts of things. So really, for me, even to be eating this common sense diet, and it's actually just what it is, just common sense. Just use your common sense. If you shouldn't be eating it, don't even have it in your house. Just keep it out of your house. So on this common sense diet, I was able to lose 2 kilograms in the space of 1 month. And this is about 4.5 pounds. Then I moved on to level 2, where I stayed for about 2 months. And at this level 2, where I now had the healthy plate, half vegetables, a quarter protein, and a feast of carbohydrates, I now lost at level 2, 3 kilograms, which is about 6.6 pounds. And one of the most significant things, it was at this time I noticed my body was changing, because I actually lost like 3 inches from my tummy. I noticed that my clothes were now becoming loose. And I continued on this level 2, the healthy plate, for 2 months. Then I moved on to level 3. At level 3, I actually stayed here for a long time, for about 6 months. And at level 3, I was now taking the low carbohydrate, high protein diet, where it is only 1 feast of carbohydrates per day. Like I've said, I choose to have my carbohydrates a little in the morning, but most of it at lunchtime, and none at dinner or supper. And it was on this, at this level 3, that what I say, the magic began to happen. It was at this level 3 that I lost a lot of weight. At just this level 3, I was able to lose like another about 10 kilograms. So that by the time 9 months ended, I had lost 14 kilograms in total. And I had lost almost 10 inches from my tummy. I continued on, and my weight stabilized at 77 kilograms or 170 pounds with a BMI of about 28. So if you're liking this video, please give the video a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so that many more people can get to see this video. Also share it with somebody who can benefit from this video. I have learned achieving weight loss and maintaining weight loss are 2 different things. And weight loss, like I've said, is a lifestyle. It is not something you only do for a few days or a few weeks and stop. You have to do this for a lifetime. So it is not a 1-day program, or lose 6 kilos in 1 week, or lose 50 pounds in 2 months, and then you go back to your old habits. So for me, this is now a journey of life, which now I know I must adhere to be able to beat the weight problem. And then also, I would say from my experience, I would say go for gradual transitions between the different levels so that you are not overwhelmed. Because remember, this is a lifetime journey. You don't want to do too much too soon, and then you have to give up. Occasionally, I would say the level 5, which is the green, the level 5, which is the green, I have never done. So I want to be honest about that, but I would do it if my health or my life depends on it. The level 4, which is the keto, I have occasionally done it. I remember when I came from Mount Kilimanjaro, I had such raging sugar because of eating so much carbohydrate on the mountain. And I had to do keto for about 2 days. to bring my sugar down. And actually, I was able to stabilize my sugar within a week. So on this journey, for me, it's a wellness journey. I'm not aiming for extreme thinness. Like I said, I'm focusing on health and sustainable weight loss. It helps to document your progress. One of the things I did after I left the hospital was to start keeping a record of parameters. And some of the things I record are my weight, my blood pressure, and also my sugar levels. So I periodically review these results, see where to improve, where to enhance, and even what to review. And I would advise you, if you're on a weight loss journey, keep a record, keep a diary. It can be the form of a journal or in the form of an Excel sheet. I prefer maybe something that's tabulated. I find it easier to follow. I've talked much about proteins. Let me get some water first. Please don't snack on or don't sip juice. Just take some water like me. So that's my water. So occasionally or periodically, I'm told that this diet I recommend with a lot of protein is expensive. I really want you to consider how much it costs or how many hundreds or thousands of dollars diabetes medicine costs. Because ultimately, if you don't lose your weight, you'll end up with maybe one or more of these diseases. You'll end up either with diabetes, high blood pressure, or some other diseases that are related to obesity. I would say, is it cheaper to buy the protein or to buy the medicine? And yes, even if you can buy the medicine, it gets to a point the medicine doesn't work. It may result in you having to have your legs cut off or amputated, or sometimes it may lead to, at the extreme end, kidney failure. So you may have to be on life support. You may have to go through dialysis. So when you look at the end stage, this high protein diet that I'm recommending is not really expensive, but it's up to you to choose whether you want to choose a cheaper diet over your health or whether you want to invest in your health and have a better outcome. So from my experience, I can say that weight loss is possible even without medication and with just dietary intervention. And please remember, when it comes to a disease like diabetes type 2, type 1 is a sickness. That one, there's nothing we can do about it. Type 2 is a sickness of eating. So the cure lies in eating. So you need to actually decide which one you will go. So this scale of mine or this model of mine actually focuses on progressive carbohydrate reduction. And this progressive carbohydrate reduction, I would say, give yourself grace and allow yourself a little time. I can't tell you how long it will take. For different people, it will take different times. So I cannot tell you to stay at level 1 for a week or a month or 2 months. A lot will depend on you. And different people will respond differently. However, I think there's benefit for all of us, maybe to enter this scale at one point or the other. This diet, remember, it has 5 levels, and I would say you can start somewhere where it works for you. For one person, it may be starting at level 1, like me. For another person, it may be starting at level 2 or 3, but start somewhere. Just start where you are and where you can. And don't be in a hurry, take your time, and please come back in the comment section after months or years and tell us where your results are like. Of course, at higher levels, there'll be faster weight loss, but this is harder to sustain. Above all, like any diet, the effectiveness will depend on your consistency. And for food, I will say portion control. Portion control, because When you look at most food servings, we are just basically eating too much. If you look at the size of plates in the 50s and in the 70s, in the 80s, it has progressively increased. What we now use as a salad plate or side plate would be a normal size of a plate maybe 50 years ago, and maybe even as recent as 20 years ago in some households like in my part of the world. So portion control is a must. And please remember, industrial and junk food has no place in your body, no place in your house, and no place in your life. You're only making some multinational richer and richer and not taking care of yourself. So, of course, I know many of you are asking, what can I eat at each level? Well, I will share some of the common meals that I ate as I lost weight and I still eat. But for details, I will urge you to go to my videos, and I'll also provide a link in the description where you look at those videos with pyramids. I've shown you with photographs what you can eat at each level. And this is applicable, and it covers most of the starches or most of the foods that are eaten in almost the entire world. So for actual photos, please go to my video on sample meals. And after this one, go to the video on sample meals. You'll be able to actually see photographs of what you can eat at each level. So for myself, I've told you what I've eaten. I'll make a few more recommendations. At level 1, at the common sense diet, please remember it's just the rule of a third carbohydrate, a third protein, and a third vegetables. And the cardinal rule here is no junk, no industrial foods. And this is also the stage where you say no to soda or pop and those sugary drinks. And for some people, just doing this common sense diet, they can even lose, depending on how much they have to lose, they can even lose 20, 30, or even 50 pounds on just common sense diet. So some of the common ones, I've already mentioned them, but just in case you're joining us now. So please make sure you keep your carbohydrate portion, which is basically the pasta, the bread, the potatoes, the chapati, the rice, to a third or less on your plate. Why am I insisting on carbohydrates? Because this is the beginning of growing fat or getting diabetes. Protein and vegetables will rarely make you fat. It is the carbohydrate that will make you fat, that will give you diabetes or any other lifestyle sickness. At level 2, please remember the cardinal rule will be half vegetables and then a feast of carbohydrate. So we have moved again from a third carbohydrate to a feast or a quarter carbohydrate. So we've moved from, at level 1 is a third carbohydrate, at level 2 is a quarter carbohydrate or a feast size. To help me in this one, I always advocate for eating vegetables at every meal. I also eat vegetables for breakfast. Most of the time you'll find that for breakfast and dinner, I eat raw vegetables. And for lunch, when I'm eating most of my starch, I like to eat cooked vegetables. And I mostly eat the African indigenous vegetables. This includes the black nightshade, the spiderweed, the amaranthus, the crotalaria. If you eat any of these vegetables, please type in the comment section. I'm really curious to know what vegetables you are eating. At level 3, the key here is to have only one feast of carbohydrates per day. And you will decide, is it in 1 or 2 meals or 3 meals? And if you observe this rule of one feast, I'm so sure you will lose weight. This one, it has worked for me. And for me, as a rule, I think I prefer to have my carbohydrates earlier in the day. So most of the time, not all the time, but at least about 3 to 4 times in a week, I don't eat any carbohydrates for supper or dinner. However, if I've not eaten any lunch, then I will eat a little carbohydrate for my dinner, but I'll not make up, because most of it will just be sitting there, pushing your sugar up and telling your blood to store more sugar as fat. So if you're just joining us, this is the level at which weight loss accelerates. So at level 4, what can you eat? So please remember, here we are talking of you've removed carbohydrates from your diet. We can't completely remove, because at level 4, you're doing the keto Atkins diet where you're only eating protein and vegetables. But it's also good for you to know that vegetables have small amounts of carbohydrate. This is because vegetables have a lot of fiber, and in this fiber, there are small amounts of carbohydrates. So this will probably be the only carbohydrates that you will be taking in. So to help you out, you can make sure that your plate ratio is like 2/3 vegetables and 1/3 protein. What do I mean by 1/3 protein? Remember, we've removed carbohydrates from your diet, and now I don't want you to overeat the proteins, because also if you get to overeat excess proteins, you will now have excess proteins, which will be turned to glucose, which is a carbohydrate, which will go to storage as fat. So if you're from that part of the world where people like doing barbecue or roasting meat, please do not eat a kilo of meat on your weight loss diet. Please just remember, we are talking of a small amount, like 1/3 of your plate. Eggs are very popular on the keto diet, so you can increase your eggs, and it's fairly normal to eat 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 eggs at a meal of eggs. But really, you don't need to eat really much more beyond there. But I don't want to prescribe a number. I want you to find that sweet spot that works for you. So don't overeat the protein. Keep it to just a 1/3 of your plate or less, and 2/3 vegetables. Why am I mentioning vegetables? You'll find that from research, most people who have lost weight and have been able to keep it off actually eat vegetables, and in particular salads. These are very useful because the fresh salads also have some enzymes which are very useful and good for your body. This level 4, like I've mentioned, it's a difficult diet to maintain. So what most people do, or what many people do, is to cycle in and out of keto, meaning you can do maybe keto for a month and then you go back to low carbohydrate, or just remove the carbohydrates from one meal. And sometimes it actually helps when you do like a keto-like breakfast. If you eat something like eggs and avocado for breakfast and vegetables, you actually feel better throughout the day. So I will let you explore and tell us in the comments section. At level 5, you will typically eat no vegetables, only meat. This is carnivore. And once again, please don't get 2 kilograms of meat at a sitting. You'll still grow fat because you're eating excess calories. So the rule of calories in, calories out will still apply. So don't go and eat 2 kilos of calories thinking that you will lose, don't go and eat 2 kilos of meat thinking that you will lose weight that way. It must be moderate. And you'll find that most people who do this carnivore diet eat actually only once a day, or maximum 2 times a day. It's an extremely restrictive diet, but highly effective. And it's very useful for other metabolic conditions, like I've already mentioned them. So please give this video a like. I'm sure you've enjoyed it this far now that you are here. And also subscribe to this channel. It's highly effective. This diet I'm prescribing is highly effective. It will help you get there. Give the video a thumbs up. So let me get some water. Remember, no sipping juice, no sipping soda, only water. So on this NancyB's 5-point scale diet for weight loss, what are some of the ideal meals for breakfast? I'll let you decide, but I'll give you some tips. One of the things I would say is that don't eat a sugary breakfast. Eat a tasty, salty, or sour, or savory, or a main or bland breakfast. Avoid eating a sugary or sweet breakfast because this gives you a sugar spike followed by a crash. So you'll now be looking for more sugar or more food to eat. Start your day or your breakfast with cooked or raw vegetables to control your. One of the most effective is I prefer to eat fresh vegetables. You may eat a little fresh fruit. People have asked me the place of fruit, but I would say keep it maybe to a tablespoon, so small an amount of fresh fruit. That is enough. You don't need to eat much more. One of my favorites for breakfast is the homemade cereal. I've shown some of you how to make. And this homemade cereal has like little groundnuts or peanuts. It has pumpkin seeds. It has flax seeds. It also has chia seeds. And you can eat it with a small amount of yogurt or milk. And I've made a previous video on how to mix this, so I'll not go into so much detail. And one of the things to do is to reduce the amount, especially of the nuts, because they have a lot of fat as you go up the scale. You can also eat some breakfast. For breakfast, you can also eat some bread. For example, you can have like 3 slices of bread and maybe 2 eggs. Or you can increase and replace the 1 slice of bread, which is a carbohydrate, with another egg. So you can increase the eggs as you decrease the amount of bread. So you can increase the eggs from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5. It's really up to you. Remember, as you reduce the carbohydrates. So this is one of my common breakfasts because the eating of eggs has other additional benefits. So I would say apart from level 4 and 5, eat small amounts of fruits. That is enough. You know, for me, I was eating like 2 bananas, 2 oranges, a mango in a day. Oh gosh. Now I eat just a small orange that size, and I really love the pixies, or a quarter slice of pineapple. I don't like pineapple so much, or a small slice of mango, or quarter an apple. So that is the amount of fruit. So what I'm trying to say is that if this diet is to work, you have to keep tabs on the amount of fruit you are eating. You eat too much, you're doing yourself in. Unfortunately, at level 5 and 4, that is keto and carb and the carnivore diet, you will not be able to eat this fruit. So please write your questions in the comment section down below. I'll be answering them in the next video in a short while, maybe in a few weeks. So I'm welcoming you to write questions. You can also send me questions on Instagram and write them also here in the comment section. I will dedicate a whole session to answering your questions. So what are some of the strategic things that I do to help me in my weight loss journey? I have a lot of things that I have been doing, and I want to share with you some of them. I've invested in bulk cooking or meal prepping. What I do is that I bulk cook maybe a particular dish. For example, I can have like a bowl of meat, another bowl of vegetables, a bowl of rice. And I can have 2 types of meat. I can also bulk cook 2 types of vegetables. Then I'm mixing different combinations at every meal. Then this way I don't get bored. What is the advantage of bulk cooking? Many times, the temptation to actually eat the wrong things comes when you're very hungry. For example, you come from work, you're so tired, you're so hungry, The temptation to get a takeaway from those food chains, you know them in your country, is so high. But if you know you have ready food, you will be able to actually quickly warm something that you've already cooked. Then this way, you are not tempted to actually eat the wrong things. So a takeaway is minimized. And even nowadays, with the provisions of there are lots of food chains now that are now delivering food to homes. It's not just in America or in the first world. This is also happening even in my part of the country. You just dial and they are there at your door, maybe within 10, 15 or 30 minutes. So if you have bulk cooked your meals, you avoid this temptation to actually just eat anything that comes by or to call and get this food. So when you meal prep or bulk cook, it encourages adherence to your diet, depending on what it is. How do I eat myself? Personally, I like to eat 3 meals because I don't want to be preoccupied with thinking about hungry or how hungry I am. So I typically will eat my breakfast and then I will eat my lunch, and I eat most of my lunch at I eat most of my carbohydrates at lunch. And then for supper, it's normally maybe a salad and some protein, some fish, or some chicken, or some meat. Then this way, I'm not preoccupied with thinking about food. Because also, if I'm preoccupied with thinking about food, that is when the temptation to dial for somebody to deliver or to bring a takeaway comes. Typically, I eat my breakfast at level 3. That is a low carbohydrate, high protein. And some of the things I've mentioned, I like eggs. I also have that homemade cereal. And at this point, I'd like to point out, please don't load your homemade cereal with oats. If you must eat some oats, maybe limit it to a tablespoon or so. But I prefer that you don't load your plate with oats. Because remember, oats are very high carbohydrate. They quickly turn to sugar, and that will do your diet in. At lunch, I mainly eat at the level 2 healthy plate. And normally, most of my lunches, I will have something like rice and fish and vegetables, African vegetables, or chapati and beef and African vegetables. And remember, there are different kinds of African vegetables. I mentioned like 4. I don't know which you like to eat. And then that is more or less it for my starch for the day. The evening is normally dinner, which is mainly raw vegetables or a salad without any carbohydrates. So there is one of my favorite salads. I think I've previously done a video making it. Maybe I'll link that video in the comment section because I found it helps me even during the day when I feel bored and I feel like I want to snack on something, not because I'm really hungry. Most of the snacking is because of boredom. I prefer to snack on that salad than to snack on some high carbohydrate snack. So I'll provide a link for that salad because it has really helped me, and I usually will eat it for breakfast and for dinner, and even during the day when I feel bored or I feel like I want something in my mouth. One of the things as a matter of principle is to I avoid eating sugary breakfasts, especially the things I don't take for breakfast anymore. Even my favorite fruit juice, I no longer take that for breakfast. I don't take cereal that comes from a box, and I don't take any sugary foods for breakfast because this bad start of the day will ruin your whole diet for the whole day. So I prefer to really dial in on my breakfast, and I like to go to bed knowing this is my breakfast tomorrow. If you have a plan, you're likely to adhere. If you don't have a plan, you are likely not to adhere to the eating plan. So how do I eat my food? One of the tips I want to share with you is that I eat my food in a particular order, and this helps. For example, I will eat vegetables first, then proteins, then carbohydrates. Normally, what happens is that by the time I get to the carbohydrates, I'm no longer so hungry that I might actually leave some behind. You know, sometimes I'm thinking at lunch, I'm hungry, my feast of carbohydrates is here. But halfway, I just feel, I've had enough. But the good thing, I've already taken in the vegetables, I've already taken in the proteins. Um, so what would be my take on this? Will everybody lose weight? And will everybody reverse diabetes? I can say that for most people, this diet works. There's a lot of research that has been published on this diet. And if you are very interested, go to Google search or Google Scholar and search for just David Unwin. He's even tested this low carbohydrate diet on his patients in the UK, and he has published that data. I know there are some of you who are asking, do you have the authority to speak on this? No, I don't have the authority to speak on this. I'm just a person or a patient who actually recovered, and I'm sharing my experience. But I'd like you to read or to listen to a doctor speak about his experience. He's done interviews on the internet. He's also published a paper, I think 2023, about his patients in the clinic on how they're performing on a low carbohydrate diet. So I really urge you to go to that paper or that video of Dr. David Unwin and look at how the patients are performing. Then maybe if you hear it from a doctor, you'll believe me. And not everybody 100% may reverse diabetes, but sometimes the statistics show as high as 90 or 93%. So I believe you could be one of those people in that bracket. You have to have faith and you have to take the first step forward. You can't afford to just sit back and give up. After all, if you give up and do nothing, the problem will still be there. So the best thing for me, I would say, give it a try. That have been shown to improve with this low carbohydrate diet. And some of the ones that have been shown to improve include high blood pressure. Personally, I noticed my blood pressure fall so quickly. And like I said, I keep tabs. I know this by measuring. Also, apart from a sugar machine, I have a blood pressure measuring machine in the house. I measure, and every 3 months I measure in a small hospital, and once in a year I measure in a big referral or university hospital, just to make sure that my machines are still calibrated. So inflammation and arthritis may also improve. So if you have some of these conditions, try this diet, see how it can help you. But one of the things I need to warn you about, if you lose weight or reverse diabetes on this low carbohydrate diet, and then you decide now I've achieved weight loss, you go back to eating your high carbohydrate diet or industrial foods, the weight will come back. For sure, it will actually just come back and you lose the gains. Just the same way, somebody maybe who has some of these chronic diseases has to take medicine every day. For you who is eating, you have to eat right every day, not on some days. So long-term success of this to the program. So it's not a quick fix, it's discipline and you choosing your health over the comfort of your mouth or what society deems as normal. We've normalized things that are not normal. When I was growing up, we would maybe have these special foods, the food from the takeaways, from the chains, once in a week or once in a month. Nowadays, there are people who can eat their meals all from these chains, 3 meals a day from these chains, honestly speaking, we will get sick. But I'm sure you can do something. So I know people are asking themselves, is it only these foods that are bad or other foods bad? I've also had people say they only eat indigenous foods. Will indigenous foods help you lose weight? Well, this is an important question that we all should be asking ourselves. Is it the type of food? Is it indigenous or is it exotic? Definitely, with the coming of all these food chains all over the world, we are seeing the obesity rates go up, even in countries or areas of the world where there was no longer any obesity. And maybe an important question that we should all be asking ourselves, if we return to the indigenous ways of eating, will it help lose weight? So, the issue of indigenous foods is the subject of the next live video. Please keep watching my videos so that you don't miss that discussion. See you in that video.